A 6'7" defenseman who's already established himself as a regular in arguably the second best pro hockey league in the world? Yeah, I'd say NHL teams are probably going to be a little bit interested. Anton Silayev is one of the 2024 NHL Draft's true big swings at the top. Sure, his production at the KHL level isn't eye-popping at this point, but just the fact that he's in the KHL at age 17 and holding his own, he didn't turn 18 until April, so he played pretty much the entire year at age 17. It just speaks to the quality of a player and the quality of a prospect that he is at this age. Oh yeah, and did I mention he's 6'7"? I did. Okay, well, I'll mention it again. He's 6'7", and being that big, it just gives him an inherent advantage over basically every small defenseman and every normal-sized defenseman in this draft. It means his strides are longer. It means his reach is longer. It means he can overwhelm opponents in puck battles in a way that a 5'10" defenseman just is never going to be able to do. And these are all things that NHL scouts and NHL teams absolutely love in blue liners. But Silayev isn't just a big, lumbering defenseman. He's huge, but he can skate well too, and he's not lacking for raw puck skills either. The hype train went into high gear for Silayev at the start of his KHL campaign. This was way back in September, when he kicked off the year with 6 points in his first 6 KHL games, again, at the age of 17. Now, he didn't keep that production up, but it spoke to his raw talent. It spoke to his potential as a puck-moving defenseman, as a guy who might be able to produce offense, and it got every scout paying very close attention to Anton Silayev. Now, the belief is that Silayev does have offensive upside. The question is, what is that upside? Some scouts look at him and they see the Russian Victor Hedman. Other scouts look at him and they wonder if he really will be able to score much at the NHL level and if he'll always just be a defensive defenseman. And that's the big debate about Anton Silayev. So let's get into his strengths. Look, there's the obvious one, his size. Big defensemen, especially ones as big as Silayev, they do have those natural advantages that the smaller defensemen don't. Basically, defensemen who are as big as Silayev is, have the potential to develop into players who are just bigger and stronger than everyone else on the ice. They can be incredibly disruptive with their reach. Their frames can handle more weight and muscle than smaller defensemen. Their shots can develop more power. Basically, it just means that Silayev's upside undeniably is through the roof, and it also means that he already has these abilities now. Now, maybe scouts wouldn't think so highly of Silayev's upside if he wasn't a good skater, if his skating was fundamentally flawed. But it's really not. He's a legitimately good skater, a great skater for his size, and a good skater, period. In fact, there are times when he looks like a small defenseman in terms of the way he skates, particularly when he moves laterally. He moves like a 6-foot defenseman who just happens to be 6'7". And it's that lateral movement, I think, more than anything, that gets scouts excited about his offensive upside. Some wonder if he maybe could be a power play weapon, moving laterally along the blue line to create shooting lanes. And at even strength, he could theoretically do the same thing, helping out his team on the cycle. As for his puck skills, he does have moments when he looks like he could become a legitimately good puck mover. He doesn't handle the puck like a hand grenade, especially for someone who's 6'7", and as a passer, his short area feeds are usually pretty good. He can engineer a breakout. And while it's not like he's constantly delivering bone-crushing hits, he does play physical, he does use his size well along the boards, and he is extremely effective in killing plays with both his stick and his body, again, at the KHL level at age 17. If he can do that already, imagine how good defensively he could become in his prime. Now for the weaknesses. For Silayev, the play with the puck, it's all about upside and potential because right now it is very much a work in progress. Higher difficulty passes are still pretty difficult for Silayev. He isn't exactly a smooth puck handler at this stage yet either. And if you're talking about him contributing on the offensive side, especially at even strength, he doesn't activate that much at this stage of his career. He mostly sits back and serves in a defensive defenseman role. And for Silayev's size, he probably could stand to be a bit more physical. It's not that he shies away from contact, he's certainly not soft, but he has the ability to be a truly intimidating physical presence, and he's not quite there yet, and some people wonder if he ever will be. Frankly, though, the biggest weakness for Silayev is that he's legitimately difficult to evaluate. It's impressive enough that he's already holding his own at the KHL level at such a young age, and it's really tough, if not impossible, to know which parts of his natural skill set he's deliberately holding back just to make sure he keeps his head above water at such a young age in such a tough league. Maybe he just doesn't think the game well enough to be a point producer at the pro level. Maybe that's just an inherent weakness, or maybe it's something that'll naturally come to him as his puck skills get better and as he moves up the ladder and moves over to North America. Both outcomes are possible. There's certainly a world where he continues to progress, he has the size, he gets stronger, the puck skills improve, and in 3, 4, 5 years at the NHL level, he becomes a do-it-all monster on the back end who just happens to also be 6'7". In the end, Anton Silayev's upside is undeniably enormous. And he certainly shouldn't fall out of the top 10, given the fact that if it all comes together for him, he could be a generational defenseman. But the risk is real too. It's not the risk that he won't be a quality pro. He already is a quality pro in the KHL level and probably could be a quality pro maybe as soon as next season at the NHL level. It's the risk that he won't develop into a top pair defenseman, and that's what you're hoping to get if you're using a top 5 or even a top 10 pick in the NHL draft. There's a very real chance that Silayev will remain one-dimensional, and he'll just be a really good defensive defenseman who gets you 20 points a year. That's certainly still a player worth drafting, but it's probably not a player you want to take in the top 5. Personally, I wouldn't pick Silayev in the top 5. In the latter half of the top 10, though, sure, I would certainly give it a go.
We all silly like the mayor.